Most of the time when we look at an inventor that's got some crazy world-changing technology, they've got one. Like there's one guy I've seen, he's got like water siphons, and he thinks gravity and pumped up water is gonna make some kind of perpetual motion machine. Cool, God bless it. Am I a skeptic? Yeah, with that one, kind of gotta see it to believe it. That's a healthy attitude here. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. In our case, we've got no less than 5 working, viable, real, provable, effective technologies. So with other inventors, you're going to see that they're always talking about one same thing a lot of the time, or one same approach to the technology, even if it has different incarnations or different bodies. And if they're right, that's great. Y'all win. Until the market blows up and you only have one segment of it because you only did one thing, that's a liability, sure. But it's a great market to be in because we're here at the very, very beginning. We're at the Steve Jobs and Woz out in their garage stage of this technology. So anybody that jumps in now is going to make a fortune when they crack it. And if that's the guy with the water pumps and working on gravity, then fine, so be it. The world needs this help so badly. This is an all hands on deck situation, because it doesn't take too long at just surfing the web to like see what's up, right? Everything's on fire and crazy and the ice is melting and the species are, ugh. And in the margin, in the off hours, I've got a world-changing thing. Maybe you do too. Maybe some of us do. Maybe you know somebody else who's out there trying to change the world. But sometimes they're too tired. They work 9 hours that day. First, we start out with 5 different technologies. So for those of us who really play the game, we diversify, or we'll buy into an index or a hedge fund, right? That automatically diversifies for us so that some will win, some will lose, but the world keeps turning and we still keep making that 12% year over year. Our company does that same thing with technology. Now, how do we get 5 technologies? It's because I've been doing this stuff, rain or shine, hell or high water, for 25 years now. And of the thousands of things that I've tried, there's 5 that work. 5 that I'm willing to put my blood, sweat, and tears in to keep on going with because they work. So we start with those 5 things. That's diversified. Even if 1 out of the 5 things actually works, and I'm dead wrong about the other 4, that's still a win. And if 2 out of the 5 things work, and I'm dead wrong about 3 out of the 5, that's 2 wins. Twice as much as most companies in this space ever have in the beginning. And if we've got 3, 4, or 5 winners, which we probably do, I'm fine with the idea that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. So let's say in the best case scenario, we got all 5 on the table. Each one of those things is addressing a different market segment. Maybe the worst one we just open source and give away, right? And the ones that are really energy dense and make a lot of power, we can use those to generate profit. Now, stop. In the past 100 or 200 years, that's been the end of the story, to generate profit. And that's legit. There's nothing wrong with that. I'd go so far as to say there's nothing wrong with that if the world is infinite, lasts forever, and can handle an untold amount of pollution. That's the beach covered in plastic debris. That's the bridge downtown full of people that don't have anywhere else to go. There's nothing wrong with making profit. If profit wasn't made, these lights would be out. I wouldn't be able to pay the bills, and the company that powers the lights wouldn't be able to turn it on. So in the beginning, we take these 5 technologies and we make products out of them. Our strategy is to sell the best and license the rest. You're not going to see big fancy office space here. We act like you do. If you are creating wealth, you know not to spend it on everything you want. You make sure that you keep everything that you can, so that when the big investments need to come to pass, where we have to go into production on a brand new material that wouldn't exist otherwise and hire a factory to do that, or we need 10 patent attorneys to review the prior art, that we can make those investments. We don't have to scrape and scrimp in order to find some margin because we're paying for beautiful office space, right? So for today, we're going to only take a little tiny look at how this company makes profit. And there are 2 ways that we do that. First, we protect their intellectual property. We do that so that we can leverage profit for social good. Imagine the difference between spending $5 million on a Super Bowl ad and spending $5 million on like planting trees, right? But giving away your product to the people that show up and help plant the trees. The best viral advertising in the world is doing social good and making it really fun and cool. So we are protecting the intellectual property that we have fought hard and bled big time in order to create. These days you'll see people with their face all up in the camera saying, hey, you don't even need to create any content, man. Just go ahead and sell your product and create it later. Maybe that's valid. Maybe that's perfectly fine. Maybe I don't really care, but it's not what we do. We create all the content first while making nothing. And that's coming out of my bank account, my time, my home and family life. Oh, make it stop. And I'm not the only inventor who's going through that struggle, right? That's why the goal here is to have a company that addresses social good. And where cost isn't so much of an object, but performance is paramount. That's the product that we sell because those things have the highest margins. We get the highest margins because we own the intellectual property for now. Yes, someday it will expire. Then everybody can have it. But we fought hard for this, we own it, and we sell the high margin stuff. Any questions? Yeah, what are you going to do with all those margins? That's a really good question. Those margins stay in the company. And they are reinvested in ways that are so effective at creating more margin. That's what makes this company get huge in a hurry. And that's not a problem because we begin with principles. All we have to do is just borrow what makes NFL teams already work. They run with principles. There's a playbook, right? There's ways that you make the play. And do you invent new ones all the time to surprise the opponent? Sure, of course. You want the rivalry to exist. May the best men win and the best women win too. Does the coach tell you how to eat? Yeah. Are you supposed to be out there pumping away the Big Macs? No. Are you supposed to be out there actually eating good quality protein? Maybe something organic or some wild caught? Yeah, absolutely. Are you supposed to eat your veggies? Yeah, beyond the collard greens and the collard greens. You are eating everything and you're surprising your own mama with the kind of stuff that you put away because it makes you healthy and healthy men win the game. There's a lot of incentive to start a company because if you can and you sell that company, you're rich. The trick, though, is starting the darn company. This requires a viable product. This requires being good at the execution side of doing paperwork and all kinds of stuff that's boring, new, and maybe you get it wrong. And with the legal stuff, if you get it wrong, you're kind of in trouble, too. So you better be good at that and also technically excellent and be able to manage people well, which sort of requires humility. But if you're good at all the other things, then it's hard to be humble because you're good at so many things. And people who are good at a whole lot of things are usually pretty proud of it because they work hard and they want some recognition. And that's hard to do. So many things go. So you kind of got to be a Superman, and then keeping your wife and children and family happy while y'all doing that is impossible. It's easy if you're single, but then you don't have anybody to support with all that new wealth. When you're a husband and a father and you've got kids and you want to see them go to college, when you've got a wife who's got talent and you want to free her up to use her talent because you love this lady, you promised her life. Of course you want to make $1 million. You love your family enough to try to make $1 million. And you can do the Dave Ramsey thing, and God bless it, sir. But if you want to start a business and keep the family, then God help you, sir. It's exceedingly difficult. When there's a problem, there's an opportunity. And where there's an opportunity, there's a resource. In this case, the resource is the fact that a lot of people have really good ideas. There's also a challenge. The challenge is a lot of people have really good ideas, but there's no good way to implement it, or they suck at implementing it, or they have another good idea tomorrow and they blur into a field of good ideas, or whatever. Another challenge is that a lot of people who are really rich and seeing the future are also batshit crazy. We're talking Kevin Costner in the Field of Dreams putting up lights out in a cornfield and it's empty except for some ghosts. In our space, we do energy and power because that area right now is the lamest part of the technical world, right? We update our iPhones every year. There's always a better one out there. And yet the way that we generate electricity is very slow and very old. Even solar power that came from like the 1950s, windmills, like go to Holland. How old are those? And the alternator that's turning in all these power plants is from the days of Nikola Tesla and Michael Faraday. And just because I say Tesla doesn't make it cool. These things require huge amounts of energy from the planet. And they consume that part of the planet in order to currently light our lights. So when we meet the guy that says, hey, I'm going to go ahead and make this thing that's pumping water and it's using gravity, we sort of clear our minds and we say, okay, let's start you out. Let's talk about a budget. Let's get some deliverables in place. Let's make a little plan. Yeah? And then let's see if that little thing works or not. If it doesn't work, don't worry. It's not the end of the road. So the support that we give to an inventor is proportional to their degree of success, but we're patient. We're not stupid patient. We don't go on 10 years writing blank checks to somebody that keeps giving us excuses. Certainly not. But we do go on a little while writing specific checks to somebody that makes specific claims about specific deliverables. And if things routinely fail, then that's just like we have in the venture capital world where 9 out of 10 companies go under. We funded them, we gave them millions of dollars, and it didn't work out. That's the breaks. And it's not sad. That's like the physics of dandelions. You see how many seeds those things give off? All of the universe is that way. There are countless stars, but only this one has life on this little tiny planet called Earth. There are countless seeds, and most of them fall on fallow ground and never sprout. There are countless raindrops. A lot just spend their lives going down the gutter. There are countless people, and many of us don't succeed. It's only one rare one that succeeds, but that's a viable business model if it's implemented correctly, and it is so stunningly successful when it works. So we will once in a while find a Fred. Fred had an idea. We supported Fred a little bit, and the idea worked. In fact, it worked in a way where there's not a whole lot of prior art. So we can put the brain trust into starting to protect that intellectual property. Who owns it? Fred owns it, and we own it. We have some ownership, of course, because we supported Fred, and Fred has some ownership because it's his dream. This is the thing that Fred might be working on in the spare hours with his wife feeling so lonely if it weren't for our support. This might be the thing that Fred really wants the world to have, let's say, but the rest of his life is falling apart and he's running out of steam because there just aren't enough hours in the day. The bills are piling up and the work is really slowing down. So by supporting Fred, we get him the patent and the material support, even the manufacturing support. We help put those things together so that one man doesn't have to be some kind of super genius once-in-a-generation hero in order to pull that off. In other words, people start pulling it off on the regular because there's the kind of support that makes NFL players be able to do amazing plays on the regular. Where we have all these household names of men who are genius at the physical activity of winning a game. Literally genius. It's inspiring to watch. And that genius is supported by a self-sustaining economic engine that knows how to focus the right resources onto that genius to bring out the best of it. What if we do that with inventors? Somebody's going to do that, and it is going to work. Now, this is going to have to be a pretty big and profitable company in order to have the resources to invest in things that seldom succeed and usually fail. There has to be a lot of intelligence put into this process so that it doesn't bankrupt itself and it actually begins to self-sustain. Now, we see that in like Sequoia Capital. There are actually big name VC firms out there. And there's a million of them that nobody knows their name, but there's a few of them where they're sort of a brand name. In other words, they cracked the formula. They figured out how to self-sustain. Where even though most propositions are losing propositions, they still grow because the winners are such jackpots. Here in the regime where we are leveraging the ingenuity of the human spirit, psychology comes first. Because inventors are really weird people. I've never met a normal person, and I've certainly never met a normal inventor. They're always like the lunatic fringe, right? God bless it. You've got to be in order to see something that doesn't exist. That's called seeing things. So these are people that need a lot of support, and we're not going to try to force the horse to drink that water, but for the subset of inventors that do want that support, we start them small and we let those small wins become larger and larger wins over time. And what we see is that we've got a couple of Kobe Bryants. We've got a couple real superstars who take the advice, who manage things well, and are in this for all the right reasons. It's easy to do this right and invest in people, but have everything merit-based. So it's not a person's force of personality or their magnetism and their personal cult or personal brand that starts to dominate. There are always deliverables, and there are measurements. And there will be a lot of wrong decisions. 9 out of 10 things aren't going to work. But the system is set up to accommodate that with no shame. We end up finding people who are worth supporting when 2 out of 10 things work. And we end up naturally phasing out people who aren't worth supporting because 0 out of 100 things work. We build a system where that kind of natural selection is inevitable. And all we have to do is copy those principles from other businesses and borrow the grand ideas from nature. It isn't that hard. The hard thing is the will to do it. We don't buy any ads at all. We don't buy a page in the New York Times, right? Go on eBay and look for a Tesla ad, buy one, like a collector's item. They're really not out there. They don't need to advertise in their case because their product is a breakthrough product. In our case, we do the very same thing, but it's not as sexy as a car. So we have a little bit of a different advertising theory. There is so much arid land in the world, and we could irrigate it if we pulled the water out of air, or if we can pump water, or if we can desalinate water, and all of those things require electricity. So once there's unlimited electricity in our hands, these kinds of modern miracles become practical and possible. Let's say that this land's like, that's the curvature of the earth right there, right? That's the dead land. Here, like in the eastern Washington Badlands or Scablands, it's left over from huge floods that wiped everything out. There's basalt. Nothing really grows too easy. It's full of abandoned farms. Now today, there's some trial crops growing there. There's even stuff like trees being planted that can someday be used for lumber. We've got the magic box that's pulling water from way, way down there or in some well, or condensing the water out of the atmosphere. And instead of just giving away the box, that's the brand. So imagine the Linux, they're like the Microsoft of the biz. In the art of doing social good, instead of just providing the magic box, they put their brand on the box. So that if they do buy any advertising, or if it spreads by word of mouth, the thing that has turned this from a desert into a thriving Eden, the water, the box that yields the water in an otherwise dead land, has their brand plastered all over it. That works so much better than trying to make more and more and more video footage for more and more people to stare at, where the world goes more and more and more to hell. This kind of advertisement puts social good out in the real world, but slaps your brand all over it. It's like seeing a stadium named after a bank, but now you're watching Food for the Homeless that says Bank of XYZ on it. You're watching irrigation that says Computer Company XYZ. And the companies that can leverage this start appearing to the public as godsends, because they're entering a space where there's no commercial value, right? Irrigating a desert, who cares? Handing out food to people, oh, come on. And they're using that in order to create brand recognition in a way that's relevant to their brand, and that's the important part. So we make the best, we license the rest, and then for stuff that no market would touch, we treat that as advertisement, because putting our brand on something that everybody wishes would happen, but the market just can't quite swing it, that's advertising. We start with a diversified portfolio of technologies. That's a winning strategy. It works every time. So do we have mechanical devices? Absolutely. Do we have the solid state devices that lend themselves easily to being printed on a chip? You bet. And we have the other three that we don't talk about a whole lot, but I assure you they exist. So there are two bidirectional profit engines. The first is our intellectual property engine. Of course, we've got to pay attorneys, we've got to pay patent fees. Those are small expenses in the grand scheme of things, and the licensing revenue comes back into the company and funds it. The other revenue stream is manufacturing. It's a pretty self-explanatory process. You buy the stuff, you make it, you sell it. In this case, we concentrate on the high margin stuff because we have the intellectual property to back that up. And we have two examples of ways that the business grows in the long term, by leveraging things where unpredictability is actually good. So this, my friends, is how we change the world for the better. We protect our company in the embryonic stage by having a diversified portfolio of different approaches to accomplish the same goal, just like they do in the investing space. We start a business and we leverage two conventional revenue streams. First is intellectual property protection and licensing, and the second is high margin manufacturing. And then we think outside the box because that's our bread and butter, and it's a catchphrase, I know. But I can show you two things right now that I'm going to put online and share with the world because I want people to copy them. The first is supporting inventors, creative thinkers in a monetizable way, just like a sports team does, right? And the second is doing social good with your brand slapped all over it. We're talking about using our technology as it's a natural fit for irrigating deserts, desalinating oceans, doing these things that require so much electricity they haven't been profitable yet. We go ahead and use our profits to do pilot projects that wouldn't make any profit. That's fine. Advertising doesn't make any profit. It's the brand exposure and the good look, the golden halo that it puts around a company. That's what starts energizing profit. And we do that not by giving the world a song and dance, but actually going out and doing that social good and then having that be done. That doesn't have to get advertised very much because it's self-noticing. It's inherently viral. Every aspect of this works. We have viral marketing. We have a model that works in sports teams. We have 2 models that have been proven for the last century in the USA and other countries, and we have a diversified IP portfolio, which nobody else I know has. That's why this is a win, and that's the roadmap for how we're going to win.